Hello and welcome back to 1874. It's time for a match preview show as Aston Villa travel to Stamford Bridge on Sunday, 1:30 p.m. kickoff. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, joined by televisions and Sky Sports' David Reid to look forward to the game. And David, we had a treat on Wednesday, didn't we? Because we saw each other at the game, and it was marvellous to see each other.
Yeah, it was. I was a bit unsure how to reach you, but we managed to reach you in the end. It was nice to see you and your dad as well. Great, great night. Great to see you. Even though we didn't get the result we wanted, I thought it was a positive performance overall, and obviously good to see you too.
Yeah, I mean, we had some technological problems at Villa Park due to lack of phone signal. We've had some technological problems in the build-up to this video as well, haven't we, David? There's some big problems for you trying to get yourself working, get yourself going.
Totally down to me that I take full responsibility. Usually, I'm absolutely spot on with my tech, but not today. But we're good to go now.
It did take a simple screen reload to fix the issue, didn't it, Dave? It wasn't too technical, but we did get there in the end. And I'm pleased you're with me, to be honest, because I had to do a show on my own yesterday, and I really don't like doing the show on my own. It hasn't got bad reviews, but I feel much better speaking to someone about what's to come and what's happened with Villa. But we've had the press conference today from Unai Emery. Not often we actually do these preview shows post press conference, so that's nice, a nice change for us today. Anana, maybe. Jacob Ramsey, no. Other than that, pretty much full strength, it seems. So Unai Emery's got some, not selection headaches, but he's got some things to ponder ahead of this one.
Yeah, I think so. And I think he'll also have it in the back of his mind that Villa haven't won a Premier League game following a Champions League game yet this season. And it's a really tough place to go, Stamford Bridge. And I know Villa have done pretty well against Chelsea in recent times. But given the lack of victories that we've seen, the run that Emery is on, I think it's obviously the worst longest run without a victory that he's had since he came to Aston Villa. One of the longest. I think he will equal the longest run of his whole managerial career without a victory if Villa don't win against Chelsea. So I think, he'll be fully motivated to get the result, not necessarily thinking about taking a point being a good result, which is what he actually said ahead of the game against Juventus, that a point wouldn't be a bad result. So I think, things to ponder. But I have to say, most of the players that played in midweek probably earned the right to go again this weekend.
Yeah, we've got a treat for us. Someone pretending to be Chris Heck in the chat. We know it's not Chris Heck because actually we know that Chris Heck knows how to spell villains. So it can't be the real Chris Heck. It would have been interesting if it was the real Chris Heck. But yeah, someone pretending to be Chris Heck. They failed because they've spelled villains the wrong way, not how Villa fans spell it. So it's a good try. Good try, though. I appreciate the initiative. Do you think he'll keep Boubacar Kamara in, Dave? He was the kind of headline news from starting the Juventus game. We both, and Jacob and myself on the show the night before, expected Kamara to start. Emery talked about in the press conference about how he kind of took him off to protect him a little bit. I actually didn't think he was looking tired at all. I think he looked really, really fit, actually, even in the games before his latest small injury. I thought he looked really, really fit when he came onto the pitch. So that tells me that he's probably been taken off with this game in mind, that we might like to use him in this one. Because one thing about Chelsea, arguably the most mobile side in the Premier League. I was thinking about this earlier. You could say Chelsea are the most mobile team in the league, in which case someone like Kamara would be pivotal.
Yeah, definitely. I think Wednesday night was just a huge reminder as to how good Boubacar Kamara is. And I posted online saying that I'd almost forgotten how good he was, simply because, we haven't really seen him at full tilt since his big injury. And he was so good on Wednesday night, defends space really well, reads the game really well, always seems to be in the right place. And he doesn't seem to have to make, you see a lot of midfielders having to dive in and make last-ditch tackles. He never seems to have to do that. He's almost always able to just use his body to shield the ball and either knock someone off. And he's always in the right place at the right time without having to make any drastic decisions about jumping into tackles. He's just so good, and he can carry the ball and he can pass the ball, and he's so composed. And he makes the players around him better. I know I've heard you discuss on previous pods with Jacob around, Douglas Luiz's drop off in form since the big injury for Kamara, and how actually, perhaps Kamara's form made Douglas Luiz look better next to him. And I think that argument definitely has some substance to it, because he was so good and he lifts the other players around him. He enables them to do the things that they're good at, and he just worries about all the dirty stuff, really. He's just fantastic, and hopefully he's okay. I know that they're probably going to assess him ahead of the game this weekend, and he did play the majority of the game against Juventus. I think they will have it in the back of their mind that he's obviously come back and they don't want him to have a setback. I think that's really important. The question,
Yeah, Emery said that today.
yeah, do you sacrifice him for this one particular game in the hope that it will impact his long-term fitness, and say, let's hope you're fit for a sustained run of games and hopefully for the rest of the season? Or will the medical team say, look, he's ready to go, let's just play him and continue his minutes progression and working his way back up to full fitness? So those are the questions that are going to be asked between now and the game on Sunday, and hopefully for Villa's sake he plays, because Villa are a better team with him in it.
Yeah, and we're kind of trying to figure out a way to win at the moment. So I'm expecting, until that win comes, and it's been a while, there will be little changes. For example, on Wednesday, Rodgers played from the left and McGinn played as a central number 10. That's a change. And I think that's based on trying to find a formula at the moment to get us that win. We might see a kind of change of formula again against Chelsea. We'll never see the change of setup. I've seen someone in the chat suggesting 5 at the back. That's not going to happen. Emery's not going to deviate from his formation, but he might deviate from the way certain people in certain positions play. Do you think if Onana is past fit, I mean, this would be risky with his injuries recently and Kamara's long-term injury, there's an argument for Onana and Kamara, and then Rodgers from the left and Tielemans as a number 10?
Yes, I think there is an argument. The only thing I would say around that is that Yuri Tielemans has been probably alongside Morgan Rodgers Villa's best player this season. I'm always a little bit reluctant to move a player in order to try and solve a problem elsewhere. We ended up doing that. Do you think
neither have been at their best over the last 5 or 6 games when this bad run's happened? I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. I almost feel like Yuri Tielemans has made that position his now, and I wonder whether Unai Emery will think, well, he's done so well there, and he's built that position for him, that why would I move him again to try and solve an issue further up the field? I'm not sure. I mean, it's an option because he's played there in the past. I'm just not sure he'll go for it. Having said all that, Morgan Rodgers probably isn't in his best moment. Neither is John McGinn. So where else do you kind of fix that problem other than with a Yuri Tielemans? Or you might try Leon Bailey in that position and maybe Philogene from the right-hand side and get those two to interchange. That's the only other possibility that I could think of. But Tielemans is an option. My personal opinion would be, is it the right thing to move him when he's played so well this season overall?
I mean, the issue will be that the fixtures now are coming up really, really thick and fast. There's tons of games coming up over the Christmas period. So there will be rotation. People will miss games. People will get injured. People will get suspended. I said last night that everyone in the squad now becomes important at this stage. There could be someone, for example, Emi Buendia, who's barely played, who suddenly gets minutes over Christmas and gets themselves into the team, or something happens that means they have to come on and play more minutes, or they have to start and play more minutes. So things can change very quickly over the Christmas period. And I guess now this is I look at this being December by Sunday. That's the start of where everything comes really, really thick and fast. And there will be changes. We've got another Premier League game in the week, haven't we, as well, after Chelsea Brentford at homes next week, isn't it? Midweek as well. So, there's games coming every few days now. So there will be changes. I don't think you'll necessarily see big changes for this one, but going through the period that's to come, there will be changes.
And I don't think Emery's been shy in changing his team either. I mean, some of that has been out of necessity, really, particularly with the back four and the injuries that have happened there. And from what we hear anyway, it's probably going to be the same squad, maybe plus Onana for the Sunday game. And Ezri Konsa is so important. He's so big. Is he fit enough to start? Did they put him on the bench almost for the optics to say, look, he's coming back? How fit is he? We're not too sure. But if he's available, I think he has to start at the weekend. I think it'll be Cash, Konsa, Pau and Digne on Sunday. So I think he has been able to change his team. It feels like more that he's more willing to not necessarily change the starting 11, but particularly from the bench, he's used his subs quite a bit in order to manage minutes for players. So whoever is on the bench is going to have to be ready to make an impact.
Let's talk about Chelsea then. I mean, we spend most of our August and most of our January talking about Chelsea, so we're quite au fait. We're talking about the boys from Stamford Bridge, that's for sure. Really impressed me this season. I wasn't expecting much from them in the summer. I think Maresca arguably is manager of the season so far. I think he's made what should be a tough job look relatively easy. They've managed their squad well because they've got a B team that plays on a Thursday, and then the big boys come in for the Premier League game, so everyone's rested, and the Premier League game comes, and their big players aren't tired because they haven't played in the midweek cup competition. We've obviously played on Wednesday. This is a hard game, and it's an unusual feeling for me under Emery to not feel that we've got a big chance of winning. But I've got to say, this away and Liverpool away, our last away game, I'm not going into it feeling like we will come away with 3 points. I've got to be honest. I don't like being negative, but I just think this is a really, really hard game.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, Maresca being manager of the season so far feels like a big call, but I'm struggling maybe to think of too many alternatives. Maybe
Arne Slot, I guess, is the top of the league.
Slot would be the one. Look, I think at the start of the season, I actually had Chelsea for a top 4 finish.
Did you?
Fourth. I did, yeah.
Well,
I just
we can go back and look at Dave Reid's TikTok and see whether that's the case, because I know you did Premier League predictions.
I did. I think I had them in 4th, or it might have been 5th, but I think I had them in 4th.
Backtrack.
I just thought that the Maresca would bring in a style of play that would enable a lot of those players to thrive, and I think. Look, I don't think the problems are over for Chelsea. I think there are issues that are coming down the track, particularly with that B team, as you put it, because players within that side are not going to be happy that they're not getting Premier League minutes. Christopher Nkunku is a prime example of that. So I don't think all the problems are solved for Chelsea. But I like the way that Maresca has handled the media since the start of the season, particularly at the end of that transfer window in August. And he's got a real, identifiable way of playing in possession, and also he's got them working out of possession as well. And that's been the big thing really for Chelsea over the last couple of years. Could the manager or head coach, whoever it was, galvanize that team to almost work as a team? Because a lot of the time over the last couple of years, they've looked like a bunch of individuals rather than a team. And I think Maresca has got them all working in a way that is benefiting the team as a whole, and it's his job now to continue that. And as I say, that might change when players start knocking on his door and say, I want more minutes, which I think is what's going to happen ahead of the January transfer window. But yeah, I like the way that they're playing. Malagusto's been really good, really important, the way that he has moved into midfield and beyond. He's been able to call on Lavia, who's been fantastic. I know he had a little setback. He's been excellent. Obviously, there's Cole Palmer. And then you look at Nicholas Jackson, who has been one of the informed strikers really since the end of last season. And he's really starting to show the player that he's capable of being. And he's nowhere near the top of his game at the moment. And he's really coming into his own right now. So he is one who Villa will have to keep a real sharp eye on.
In the time you've been speaking, Dave Reid, I've managed to load up your TikTok, Dave Reid.
I thought you were. That's why I carried on talking. I could see you looking down, so I thought I'm going to have to fill for him here while he looks for it.
Predictions are coming. We've not got. I mean, David Stiles has said they're king of the spicy takes. That is Dave Reid. We haven't got to Chelsea yet, but I can confirm Dave Reid has Nottingham Forest to finish 19th. Oh, he has done Chelsea as 4th. You did. The proof is in the pudding. Dave Reid did call Chelsea to finish in the top 4 at the start of the season, which, from what I'm saying at the moment, Dave, that means you've had Villa in at 6th. Yep, here comes.
I did.
It's very bold from Dave Reid, the Aston Villa fan, showing his impartial nature as a journalist there.
Yeah, look, I still think if Villa finish in the top 6 and have a run to the knockout stages of the Champions League, I think that's still an excellent season. Happy to argue with anybody who thinks that's not a good season. I still think that's a great season. I think our numbers are tracking at the moment, around 7th at the moment. So, if Villa end the season in that position, is that a poor season? I mean, maybe, but for me, I think a top 6 finish and a run to knockout stage of the Champions League for that team. Look, we've said before, Villa overachieved last season to finish in the top 4. And because of the financial restrictions that Villa have had to work under, which we all know are not of the benefit of clubs trying to break into those top competitions of football from qualifying through the Premier League, then it's always going to be difficult for Villa to strengthen the squad for as much, spending as much money as they need to spend in order to get the quality of players in. I think Villa have done really well with their squad management. Don't get me wrong. I think the transfers that Villa have made have been outstanding and have worked most of the time. But I still think, sixth, I think would be a good season for Villa.
I had us fifth when I did that league table thing that you did. I had us fifth, so not too far. I've got a feeling I had Chelsea at seventh. I believe.
I mean, that's still a possibility, isn't it? Still a possibility.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, Adam on, I can't read this name, but Adam on MP4, nice. He says Brighton win tonight, they're second, so he is, that's a decent shout for manager of the season so far, and you would expect them to win their game tonight. And if you're partial to fantasy football, remember to get your team done very, very soon. I haven't done mine yet.
Oh, great reminder.
Oh no, I didn't want to remind you. I would have thought you'd have been across it. I didn't think that would be a reminder.
Absolutely not across
You're actually writing down that you need to do fantasy football team.
Yeah.
Even though why don't you do it as soon as you jump off this? That's what I'm going to do.
I've got to go to the shop. I've got to go to the supermarket. That's my next job, and then I need to get back.
I've completely been thrown by the fantasy football to what I wanted to ask you. Yes. Oh, I've remembered. Leon Bailey. So I did this video yesterday, and I didn't go as far as say I waxed lyrical about him because I didn't do that, but I praised him because I actually think although he's not on his best form across the last 2 games, our best chances have come from him. You watched him in the flesh like me on Wednesday. Am I deluded to think that he might be coming somewhere near back to his form of last season? Because I'm just seeing the shoots of recovery. I'm going to stay positive about it.
Yeah, I mean, you're deluded in many ways, Dan, but not on that.
Reminded you about fantasy football. So I want to you are miles off me and James Avundra in our mini league.
I am.
Miles off it.
So the season doesn't start till January anyway. FPL. No. Right? Yeah, Leon Bailey. Yes. No. I think he's doing fine. I think actually the game against Juventus played to his strengths a little bit, where Juventus like to keep the ball, progress through the thirds, and Villa were looking the most dangerous on transition when our players could find Bailey and he would have a run at the left back. So I think Juventus, the way they set up, actually played a little bit into his strengths, and I think he's growing. I do think he's growing in confidence the more games he plays. I think he set up probably Villa's best chance of the game for John McGinn against Juventus, and arguably maybe John should have put that in, but it was a good block from the defender close in by the keeper. So yeah, I think there is signs that he's getting back to that level. I think the only it makes it harder for him because at the moment we've not really seen someone who can be a genuine alternative. I think Jaden Philogene was brought in as that alternative, but for whatever reason, whether it's fitness or form, he hasn't really had the minutes that he probably would have liked, and he was probably thought of as the alternative, and he's not managed to make that impact. So it's made it harder for Leon to work his way back to form because there's been nobody who has managed to almost take the heat off him a little bit. So it has been hard for him, but I think he's getting there. And look, every Villa fan would love to see him reach those heights that he did last season because, he was instrumental in Aston Villa reaching, their first major European competition semi-final in decades and reaching the Champions League. So, he deserves that little bit of time to get himself back there and hopefully he's able to get back to that point.
Do I sense a Dave Reed hot/freezing cold take on Leon Bailey this week? Are you warming me up for that? Is that what you're doing?
I think I did that last week. I think I backed him last week, so I feel like I need an alternative. Maybe I'll go John McGinn this weekend. John McGinn to score. That's my spicy take.
Okay, I've not really lined one up. What can I go with? Okay, I'll just go with we've had a couple of high-scoring draws at Stamford Bridge. There's been a 3-3 and a 4-4. I think both were in December as well. Am I right? I think it's December the 1st on Sunday. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, right. Yeah. Okay, so there've been two high-scoring draws at Stamford Bridge previously for Villa in the Premier League era, a 3-3 and a 4-4. I'm going to go for high-scoring draw. That's my prediction for this one, and I will absolutely take a high-scoring draw. I think even if it gives me a heart attack, I think I'll take a high-scoring draw away at Stamford Bridge. It would be nice to win a game soon because I never ever thought I'd say this, but I've actually forgotten what it's like to win. This is not something we've been through under Unai Emery. It feels a very long time since we won a game, Dave.
It does, but also you have to consider that we're not miles off the teams in front of us. So
No.
I think you have to, it has been it's felt like a long time because Villa fans haven't had to go through this for such a long time. But there's no better manager, is there, to turn it around than Unai Emery?
There's a few ice cold, I would say, takes coming in the chat. First one's from David Styles. Clean sheet. It's not the Champions League, David. We don't do clean sheets in the Premier League, and I can't see us keeping a clean sheet at Stamford Bridge. I'm going to label that as an early ice cold take from David Styles. And Agent Cooper's getting involved and saying Leon Bailey scoring a direct free kick and Luca Dean not to celebrate with him. There's a wild. I don't think that's ice cold. I think it's just a wild. So much has got to happen there for that take to come in from Agent Cooper. Right then, David, I think that will do us. I forgot to mention our sponsors, Luke Roper, at the start. So do check out everything they have to offer on their website. You'll get 20% off if you use our code TVV20. And I would imagine with it being Black Friday, there's already some money off. So again, this is speculation from me. You could chuck in the TVV20 on top of the already discounted stuff, I would imagine, and get yourself an absolute bargain. But don't quote me on that because I probably should have checked that before we came on. I haven't checked. It might not work, but give it a go anyway. You're losing nothing by buying some clothes and putting in TVV20 at the checkout. Monday, I'll be back with Greg Evans to do a show looking back on the Chelsea game. Hopefully something positive for us to look back on. Thank you to those who've joined us in the chat. It's always appreciated. And if you are watching via YouTube, if you could subscribe with your post notifications on, give the video a like. Let's aim for 300 likes and leave a comment as well. That would be much appreciated. And do go back and check out my solo Juve full-time video from yesterday. If you're listening via audio, 5 stars and reviews are the order of the day. Please, 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 if you're enjoying what you're listening to, please, if you could give us 5 stars and leave us a review as well, that would be absolutely excellent. Let's go before Dave Reed goes into absolute darkness there. He's got very dark.
I should have turned the light up, shouldn't I, before I started? I should have turned the light up.
If we don't end
I was just trying to see myself. I was squinting to see myself there.
Yeah, there we go. So right,
turn the lights on.
Have a good, what day is it today? Yes, Friday. Have a good rest of your Friday and have a good weekend before Villa play. For those of you going to Stamford Bridge, travel safe.